Komið þið sæl og takk fyrir að koma á þetta vefnámskeið sem ber heitið X-Road í skýinu. Árni Þór heiti ég og er viðskiptastjóri hjá Andes. Umfjöllunarefni okkar í dag, eins og titillinn gefur til kynna, er Straumurinn X-Road í skýinu. Straumurinn er heitið á gagnaflutningslagi íslenska ríkisins sem á að tryggja örugg rafræn samskipti á milli stofnana og fyrirtækja. Straumurinn byggir á X-Road tækninni frá Nordic Institute for Interoperability Solutions eða NIIS. Þetta vefnámskeið er haldið í samstarfi Andes, Amazon Web Services og NIIS. Við munum í dag flakka á milli íslensku og ensku þar sem að tveir af fyrirlestrunum eru á ensku og einn þeirra er á íslensku. Og meðan á fyrirlestrunum stendur viljum við hvetja ykkur til að koma framfæri spurningum skriflega í gegnum GoToWebinar fundabúnaðinn. Og svo í lok fundarins þá mun ég taka spurningarna saman og bera þær fyrir fyrirlesarana. Ef það er eitthvað sem þið viljið fylgja eftir í tölvupósti, þá er þetta að gera það með því að senda póst á xroad@andes.is. Á dagskrá eru 3 fyrirlestrar og ég ætla að kynna fyrirlesarana stuttlega áður en við byrjum og til að gera það þá ætla ég að skipta yfir á ensku. Our first presenter is Petteri Kivimäki. Petteri is the CTO of the Nordic Institute for Interoperability Solutions. He is experienced in X-Road implementations and was the technical lead of an X-Road implementation project in Finland and coordinated the joint open source development of the X-Road solution between Finland and Estonia. Petteri will be introducing us to X-Road and its development model. Next up is Markus Locke. Markus is an account manager with AWS, and his role is to help Nordic public sector customers on their digital journey in the AWS cloud. Then we have Tonis Pilakas. Tonis works as a solutions architect at Amazon Web Services and has several years of experience building X-Road enabled systems in Estonia. Markus and Tonis will be telling us how AWS enables X-Road in the cloud. And finally, Hrafnkell Brimar Hallmundsson. Hrafnkell is a solutions architect at Andes. He has substantial experience in deploying X-Road with Icelandic customers, and he will be telling us about how Andes approaches these deployments. And now I'd like to welcome our first speaker, Petteri Kivimäki.
Thank you, and hello everyone. My name is Petteri Kivimäki, and I'm the CTO of Nordic Institute for Interoperability Solutions, NIIS for short. So first, a couple of words about NIIS, who we are, what we do, and then I give you some more information about X-Road, what it is and what it does. So first about NIIS. NIIS is a non-profit association established by the Estonian and Finnish governments back in 2017. NIIS is a non-profit association which mission is to develop e-government solutions to its members. And nowadays, Iceland is also a member of NIIS. So Iceland joined NIIS last year in June. So nowadays we have 3 equal members: Estonia, Finland, and Iceland. And X-Road is the first product of NIIS. But it doesn't mean that in the future there wouldn't be other products or solutions. We are starting with X-Road, and in the future there may be other solutions as well. Yes, just a second. Okay, lost my mouse. Next about X-Road. X-Road is an open source software and ecosystem solution that provides unified and secure data exchange between organizations. X-Road is not a new solution. The first version of X-Road was released already 20 years ago in Estonia. But since then, its use has expanded globally, and nowadays it's being used all around the world. We have X-Road users in South America, Europe, Africa, and also in Asia. So it's a truly global solution nowadays. X-Road is published open source, So everything, all the source code, all the documentation of X-Road, it's freely available on GitHub. The source code is released under the MIT open source license, which is one of the most permissive open source licenses out there. Besides that, X-Road is also a digital public good verified by the Digital Public Good Alliance. What X-Road does and the main features, they are kind of concentrated around security. But I will tell you more about how X-Road works and what are the main features really soon. Also, X-Road can be used to implement the one-only principle. So the idea of the one-only principle is that the citizens need to provide their information to authorities only once, and then in case that information is needed by different authorities, it is shared by the authorities between each other, so that the citizen doesn't have to share the same information with multiple authorities. So X-Road is an enabler for that. X-Road is also extremely scalable in different ways, so it's very easy to start small and then go big later, or alternatively, you can also start big. Either way, well, whatever suits you the best. And X-Road is also very flexible when it comes to different kind of deployment models. X-Road supports clustering, high availability, and also different kind of platforms and infrastructures. So you can use public cloud, private cloud, on-premise, a hybrid solution. X-Road really doesn't set any restrictions to that. And during the other two presentations today, you will hear more about the different deployment alternatives, especially related to cloud. The best way to understand what X-Road actually is and what it does is to compare it to point-to-point integrations. On the left-hand side, we have a traditional point-to-point integration diagram. So it means that all the information systems, they are connected directly to each other. And every time when you need a new connection, you need to set up the configuration, agree on the connection details, and so on. If you have only very few connections and few information systems, this may actually work very well. It can be a feasible solution. But when you have more information systems and a lot of connections between different systems, managing the connections and all the configuration, it becomes really challenging with point-to-point integrations. And also, if you want to enforce some specific security policies on a national level or even on an organizational level, it may be challenging with point-to-point integrations. Well, X-Road provides a solution to that. X-Road is based on a so-called four-corner model, which idea is that information systems do not communicate directly with each other, but instead they communicate through unified access points. In the X-Road architecture, those access points, they are called security servers. And as you can see on the diagram on the right hand side, every organization has its own security server and its information systems are connected to it. And all the data exchange between the organizations, it flows through the security servers. So the idea is that X-Road secures the connectivity between different organizations. And of course, this is a very simplified presentation of X-Road and how it works. A single organization would have more than one security server, and similarly, multiple organizations would share one security server. So different kind of implementation alternatives are possible, and this is just a simplification. And here's a list of features that X-Road provides. First of all, X-Road provides organization and machine-to-machine level authentication. In practice, what this means is that X-Road is kind of a trusted network of organizations, trusted peer-to-peer network of organizations. So when a new organization joins X-Road, sets up their security server, the identity of the organization is verified using certificates. And in that way, all the members in the ecosystem, they can trust each other and they know that the other members, they are who they really claim to be. In addition to that, X-Road also supports data sovereignty. So every organization owns its own data and is free to decide who is allowed to access the data or not. So publishing a service to X-Road doesn't mean that all the other members automatically have access to it, but the owner of the service is free to control who is allowed to access the data and who's not. So X-Road obviously supports access rights management. Then about the security features that I mentioned earlier, all the data that is sent over X-Road, it is digitally signed, timestamped and logged. And those message log records, they provide digital evidence of the data exchange that can be used afterwards as an evidence if there's a dispute regarding a transaction. And obviously the log records, they can be used to identify what data was exchanged, who were the data exchange parties, and when did the transaction take place. And besides that, X-Road also provides transport level encryption between the security servers, and then some more technical features like address management, message routing, error handling, and so on. And here is a diagram that illustrates how the data exchange actually works between two X-Road members. So on the left-hand side, we have a service consumer, and on the right-hand side, we have a service provider. And the most important thing to understand is that the data always flows directly between the service consumer and service consumer producer. So there are no centralized components in the data exchange, no centralized message brokers or anything like that. However, the X-Road ecosystem, it has some centralized components, and they are very important. They play an important role when it comes to establishing trust within the ecosystem. So like I mentioned earlier, when a new organization joins X-Road, they need to have certificates. Those certificates, they are issued by trust service providers, and then the certificates and some other metadata about the organization, they are registered on the X-Road central server. That is kind of the member register of the X-Road ecosystem. It contains information of all the member organizations and their security servers, and then that information is distributed to all the security servers, and based on that information, the security servers know who are the other members of the ecosystem, and that they can be trusted. And in case some rogue security server that hasn't been registered on this ecosystem would try to connect any of the registered security servers, it would fail because the security server's data isn't present in the X-Road member registry. So even if X-Road is open source and anyone can download the software and install it, it doesn't mean that just anyone can start to communicate with an existing ecosystem. They must become members first. And when it comes to data exchange protocols that are supported by X-Road, of course, REST is supported, and besides that, also SOAP. And the implementation of the REST interface is very flexible. So if you have an existing REST service, you can basically publish it to X-Road as it is. No changes are required. And in this case, the definition of REST is pretty loose. So usually when we talk about REST, the first thing is to associate it with JSON. But with X-Road, there are no restrictions regarding the content type of the data. So when we talk about the REST interface, it covers JSON, XML, binary, text, whatever. Actually, you can exchange any type of data over X-Road. There aren't any restrictions regarding that. Besides being a technology solution, X-Road also has a governance framework. And X-Road Operator is the organization who owns the X-Road ecosystem and operates the central component. In Iceland, the X-Road Operator is Digital Iceland. That belongs or is part of the Icelandic Ministry of Finance. And then in the X-Road ecosystem, we have the members, so organizations who use X-Road to exchange data. They can be service consumers or service providers. And when becoming a member of the ecosystem, they need to agree on a service agreement with the X-Road Operator. So the X-Road Operator defines the rules of the ecosystem and defines who are allowed to join it and who aren't. And when joining the new member organizations, they go through the onboarding process and they must agree about the member agreement with the X-Road Operator. Then before members start to exchange data with each other, a service agreement is required between the members. And the service provider is free to decide what kind of conditions apply to consuming of services. So X-Road doesn't set any restrictions regarding that. And also the data can be free, or it can be can require payment. So also commercial sharing of data is possible with X-Road, and X-Road also provides some tools for billing purposes if that is required. There is not a direct billing module for it, but of course X-Road provides some statistical data regarding the queries that can be used to generate billing related data as well. Then finally we have the trust service providers, and it's the X-Road Operator's responsibility to agree with the trust service providers who are providing their services for the ecosystem. And also, what I didn't mention earlier, only trust service providers approved by the X-Road Operator are so only the trust service providers that are approved by the X-Road Operator can be used within this ecosystem. Then quickly a few words about X-Road community. So in addition to developing X-Road, NIIS also facilitates the X-Road community. When we took over the community back in 2017, it had around 50 members, mostly from Estonia, some from Finland as well. And this picture was taken in 2015 in the annual X-Road community meeting in Estonia. Having an annual community meeting is a long-time tradition of the X-Road community, and we have continued it, but unfortunately, during the last years, it has been an online event only, but hopefully we are able to see each other face to face again this year. But as you can see, since the NIIS takeover, the number of community members, it has increased quite rapidly. Nowadays, we have around 1,500 members. And as you can see, also the community member community meeting has changed a bit over the years. This picture was taken in 2019 when the community meeting took place in Helsinki. It was our previous face-to-face community meeting. The main platform for the community is our X-Road community Slack. It's free for anyone to join, so please visit xroad.global. There is a link to a form where you can join the community. Please join, and if you have any questions, comments regarding X-Road, please don't hesitate to raise them in the X-Road community Slack. And here's the X-Road world map. The purple X-Road logos there represent countries where X-Road is being used. And as you can see, like I mentioned in the beginning, it is being used all around the world nowadays. And then the other X-Road logos, they represent countries that are in a consultation phase or looking into X-Road, so potential future X-Road users. That list is even longer, but of course you never know whether they eventually become X-Road users or not. But there is a lot of interest towards X-Road at the moment. And finally, regarding support services for X-Road, so of course NIIS provides some initial supports and answers questions regarding X-Road, and then we have the X-Road community where you can get peer-to-peer support, but in addition to that, there is also commercial support available. So X-Road technology partners, they are companies that provide X-Road related services. So if you need help with connecting your information system to X-Road, hosting services, deployment, well, anything, the X-Road technology partners, they are the right place to look for those services. For example, as you can see, Anders is one of our technology partners, and pretty soon you will hear more about what they have to offer regarding X-Road. And also in this case, please check out our website, xroad.global. You can find more information about X-Road and the technology partners there. And X-Road product vision for 2023. You can all see it here. It is kind of the guiding principle for us when we develop X-Road, and we do the development work actively. We release 2 or 3 new X-Road versions per year. The latest release was X-Road 7, so new major version just in last November, and new minor versions will be released this year and next year, and of course during the years to come. And if you're interested in the roadmap and what kind of new features are coming, also in this case, please check out our website. More details are available there. And yeah, that's all that I wanted to share with you today. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. So I am going to share my screen a bit with you. So thank you so much everyone for joining this session. as Arne said before, I am account manager at AWS, and I'm helping to drive the work that we are doing in Iceland. And I'm very, very proud and happy to say that we already are supporting some major important public sector organizations in Iceland, like Digital Iceland, just to name one. So before we go into the AWS engagement with X-Road, we just wanted to take 5 minutes to go over what Amazon Web Services is, and also just talk a bit about the main differences between a cloud computing versus an on-premise environment, just to make sure that everyone is on the same page. So to start, what is Amazon Web Services, or AWS as the acronym states? Well, Amazon Web Services, as most of you probably know, is a subsidiary of Amazon.com, and is the world-leading cloud service provider, and is considered the pioneer of cloud computing when it comes to infrastructure as a service, as we started this delivery model back in 2006. Nowadays, we offer a broad set of services that ranges from compute and storage and databases to analytics, networking, and much more. And what is cloud computing then? Well, cloud computing is the on-demand delivery of IT resources over the internet with a pay-as-you-go pricing. So instead of buying, owning, and maintaining physical data centers and servers, you can access technology services on an as-needed basis from a cloud provider like Amazon Web Services, for example. So that is the official description, but to put it in a context and make it easier to understand, let's just make a very quick comparison with an on-premise environment. So most of you probably know what traditional infrastructure looks like, with servers and routers and all of this equipment that you must provision, manage, and secure at all times. So in the traditional model, you pay for everything upfront. Nothing is on demand, and there are often significant long-term contracts that you undergo as well. So you normally do this long planning process to determine what you need, and then you buy it and you set it up, and you're kind of hoping that you have planned correctly for the future. So there's a lot of internal administration, and sometimes it can be quite hard to get it right as well. And if we look on the right side of the picture, with cloud computing, it's obviously a different story. So you turn things on as you need or use them, and no longer than that. So instead of planning, you can focus on building apps and services that will accomplish your mission and meet the needs of your customers on a timely basis. And you're also able to change when the need change. So you're able to start small, and based on utilization, you can scale with the demand of your services, and you really give your developers the tools they need at their fingertips to manage your IT needs and advance your mission. So to summarize, you can move more quickly, you can be more agile, you scale as your business requires, and provide the infrastructure to the people in your organization who are building your services. So in cloud computing, you're giving that capability to the actual engineers to build on your behalf. And this is generally speaking what many customers loves with cloud computing and AWS. Now, with that being said, I want to pass it over to my colleague Tonis, and he's going to talk a bit more about the AWS engagement with X-Road. Over to you, Tonis.
Thank you, Marcus. Yeah, so I would like to refer back first to the slide Marcus started with, where it stated that cloud is the on-demand delivery of IT resources with pay-as-you-go pricing, and focusing a little bit more on the delivery aspect of it. So when we say on-demand delivery of IT resources, we really mean that cloud is not a data center somewhere or just a place where to put your workloads, but it's a way of getting IT resources and using IT resources in a different way. So it's kind of a shift in a mindset, really. So therefore, we think it's good to have some sort of a guidance as you embark on your cloud journey. Now at AWS, as solutions architects like myself, we really rely on what we call the well-architected framework to provide that kind of a guidance. Well-architected is a mechanism. It is a mechanism that helps you be successful on your cloud journey, and it really helps you on this journey in 3 ways. First of all, it helps you learn the strategies and the best practices for architecting in the cloud. It helps you measure your architecture against those best practices, and finally improve your architecture by addressing any issues that emerge. So this is not a one-time process. This is not like an audit. This is a continuous process, an iteration that goes further and further as you progress on your journey. The well-architected framework provides you a set of questions and design principles across 6 pillars, starting from operational excellence that focuses on running and monitoring systems and continually improving processes and procedures. So effectively, the way how you really run your workloads in the cloud. There's the pillar of security that focuses on protecting information and systems and mitigating risks that you can find on your way. There's the reliability pillar that focuses on workloads performing their intended functions and also how to recover quickly from failure to meet demands. So we don't claim that there are never failures. Something always fails all the time whenever you're working at scale. So really, we want to give advice on how to handle any kind of a failure, be it organizational failure, be it a technical failure, and by this improving your resiliency posture. There's the performance efficiency pillar that focuses on structured and streamlined allocation of IT and computing resources. So effectively, the performance efficiency pillar focuses on how you can best allocate your resources and how you can get the most out of them. There's the cost optimization pillar that focuses on avoiding unnecessary costs as you're doing so. And the sustainability pillar that focuses on minimizing the environmental impacts and running running cloud workloads. So really, those 6 pillars are what we rely on in giving our best advice. Now, there's a saying that the only way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. And to take this first bite from your X-Road challenges, what you see on the slide here are kind of a list of compiled best practices for running X-Road security servers on AWS. So while these best practices are based on running X-Road security servers, they apply really to any kinds of workloads in the cloud behind those security servers. What we've taken is kind of best practices from each pillar, and I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the ones that you see here, just to give you a bit of a taste. Right now, we have a GitHub repository that you can all check out, that you can comment, that you can star or fork and work from there. But really, the effort there is to create a community around this, and we really appreciate any kind of feedback or any kind of ideas you might have about those best practices as you start applying them. That said, there's also, of course, the Slack community, as Petteri mentioned. You can join from the homepage of X-Road at xroad.global and meet us there. Compiling those best practices, we've really had great support from specialists in X-Road technology, so like the Nordic Institute of Interoperability Solutions and NIIS, to name 2. We really hope that this is something that helps you on your way. Right now, we're focusing there on 5 of the 6 pillars. So the sustainability pillar is to follow soon. I'm working on it as we speak, and clearly I'm working on it as I'm still talking about eating elephants here, which is not necessarily the most sustainable practice. But that said, in case the idea of having a well-architected X-Road workload in the cloud, if the idea made you a little bit peckish about the whole thing and you would like to have a taste, here is a selection of a few key differentiators that I think when it comes to running your workloads in the cloud. So first of all, starting from codifying infrastructure. Codifying infrastructure in cloud gives you the repeatability and also reviewability of your infrastructure. So the ability to build infrastructure as code. So this is something that I think is fairly unique to cloud, although in on-premises workloads you see it sometimes as well, but with cloud, it really becomes a necessity as well. And this necessity also brings the benefits of describing, when you describe something as code, it becomes more reviewable, more transparent, something that you can argue about with your colleague or with the rest of your, let's say, with your partners or anyone else. And it's much easier to do this way than to leave post-it notes on the servers or just manage it through a ticketing system, list of emails, something else. The second best practice of configuration management is really about the observability of your static setup, the kind of the static state of your system that you want it to be in. So there's the monitoring side of things where you look at the dynamic health of your system, and you really look at what is going on in the system right now. Well, with configuration management, you can centrally manage all of your components, so not only the X-Road security servers, but any other kind of a workload that you might be running in the cloud. And by having the central configuration management, again, it gives you reviewability, it gives you observability into how your system is configured and how it is expected to work. Thirdly, separating compute and storage. We always see that, let's say, systems that compute something, systems that do something with data versus systems that store that data, they have very different requirements when it comes to, let's say, availability, durability, replaceability. You want to separate those two a little bit. So, for example, not to have everything like a database and a compute, let's say a server, an application server, and perhaps file storage in the same machine necessarily in your production workloads, but you want to separate them out so that your, let's say, your databases are more durable, they're a little bit more secure kind of behind the scenes and less reachable from the outside world. And at the same time, your compute is ephemeral, that you can scale it up and down, that you can replace it really easily without worrying about losing your application state. So this gives you this ability to better optimize for cost and better optimize for performance as well. Next, integrating testing. So what repeatability allows you to do is it allows you to test your changes end to end. So not only testing your applications on the cloud, but also testing the infrastructure that it runs on. You can quickly set up a completely separate set of infrastructure, a separate set of servers, databases that then implement the same thing, but like a second copy that you can run tests on. But also you can run other kinds of events, like we sometimes call them game days. So let's say you want to simulate what happens if there's a failure, if I lose some data, what happens if there's an attack, what happens if there's a misconfiguration. And you can play through these scenarios in a safe space, in a safe isolated sandbox if you want. And if you're really confident, you can do that also in your production environment and see how well it fares in adverse conditions. Next, limiting human operator access. Really the general practice in security, what we recommend is to keep people away from data. So if you have administrators, they should not have access to your customers' private information. There is no reason to do that. If you have everything automatable, every piece of infrastructure can be codified, every piece of deployment can be automated, there is no real reason for an administrator, for example, to have access to a production database or a production file system to check out or to read or to, whether accidentally or deliberately, read customer data. In addition to just identity and access management, there are obviously very different ways of encrypting the data, doing secure key management to make sure that the security of the data can be traced back to its origin and back to the trusted root. And finally, selecting the best pricing model. Now, cloud gives you a lot of flexibility into how you can deploy your systems, but it also comes with a lot of different options because of that. And picking the right pricing models is key to really keeping your costs at a maintainable level. And quite often, what we see is pricing models and the way how you pick specific kinds of compute resources or specific kinds of databases depends very much on how your customers use your systems. So I think a good example of it, of this kind of selection criteria would be what I've seen in Estonia with the tax board, is that Estonians mostly declare their taxes online. And they want to do that very, very early because whoever comes in first perhaps gets their refunds as quickly as possible. So as soon as the tax board's website opens for new declarations, everybody rushes in, and obviously it's a scalability challenge. And you might see similar scalability challenges, and those kinds of scalability challenges are much easier to address in the cloud. Now, having had a quick look at best practices in the cloud, I really wish that you would visit the GitHub repository. You can get the QR code by looking at the recording of this webinar, or you can search for AWS best practices for security servers, and you should be able to find it. With that said, I would like to hand it over back to Marcus to discuss how AWS can help you on your digital journey. Thank you. And Marcus, you're on mute.
That was not the first time it happened during the pandemic. Thank you for that, Tonis. So I was just saying that before we finish our part of the webinar and hand it over to Anders, we just wanted to talk a couple of minutes about what you actually can use AWS for behind X-Road and behind the security servers. I would like to start with saying that the security and compliance services is always job zero with AWS. So this is where everything starts, to have the security up to the highest of standards. And we have designed our services to help meet the toughest of security requirements and protect data of all levels of classification at all times. We also have numerous of regions and data centers within Europe, and you're in 100% control of your data all the time. Our platform currently consists of over 250 different services. So first of all, we have our core services like compute, storage, networking, and database services. And to accompany this, we also have several management tools that offer resource management, track configuration, and can also make recommendations on your AWS environment. We can also provide enterprise applications from email and call center solutions to work docs and conferencing systems. But what I would say that many customers really like about AWS is the breadth and depth of multiple services across analytics, DevOps, mobile services, IoT, machine learning, and migration to help you really innovate and transform your organization. Another important piece that customers enjoy is the AWS Marketplace. And what the AWS Marketplace is, it's basically a digital catalog that makes it easier for you to discover, procure, and provision third-party softwares. So we have thousands of different software licensing there on the marketplace, and then you can just deploy it within your AWS environment and your AWS account. So I also wanted to let you all know that AWS is very committed to Iceland. So all the public sector organizations have a dedicated account team with account managers, solutions architects, and other subject matter experts that can help you with your AWS journey and help you on your digitalization. So with that being said, thank you so much for me, and I would like to pass it over to Kelly from Anders.
Já, panelin hérna. Já, góðan daginn. Eins og fram er komið þá heiti ég Hrafnkell og er einnig Anders. Og hérna er verið að laga aðeins myndavélina mína. Árni er að hafa stað með hér. En já, frábært, takk fyrir. Já, ég ætla að segja ykkur aðeins frá X-Road þjónustu Andes. Andes eru AWS sérfræðingar á Íslandi. Við sérhóðum okkur í AWS eða Amazon Web Services og höfum til dæmis náð Advanced Partner status hjá AWS og erum í rauninni fyrsta íslenska fyrirtæki sem nær því, enda er sú staða venjulega hjá töluvert stærri fyrirtækjum en okkur. Við erum bakhjarl fyrirtækja sem eru með innviði í AWS. Við hjálpum stærri fyrirtækjum að flytja innviði úr vélbúnaði og upp í skýið. Við vinnum náið með þróunarteymum til að hjálpa þeim með DevOps-mál í skýinu og sjáum líka rekstur og eftirlit kerfa í AWS skýinu allan sólarhringinn. Hér má svo sjá teymið á mynd í öllu sínu veldi og þessar vottanir sem við höfum út við okkur eru nauðsynlegar til þess að ná og halda þessum Advanced Partner status. Þarna glöggt má sjá til dæmis mynd af mér og ég mjög stoltur að tilheyra þessum hópi. Nú, Straumurinn eða hinn íslenska X-Road uppsetning. Þetta eru stofnanir og fyrirtæki sem hafa sameinast að nota þá X-Road uppsetningu til þess að skipta svo gögnum á þjónustu og eins og Petteri kom inn á þá stafrænt Ísland sem stendur á baki því og íslenska ríkið sér strauminn og til þess að tengjast honum og tala sín á milli þá þurfa stofnanir og fyrirtæki aðgang að öryggisþjóni eða security server eins og Petteri talaði áðan. Og þar geta þau sett upp svokölluð undirkerfi og fengið það svo skráð í þennan miðlæga umsýsluhluta straumsins. En það er einmitt þessi öryggisþjónn eða security server og öll umsýslan í kringum hann sem getur eins sem að fara af stað þrándur í götu ef viðkomandi ekki með allt sem þarf. Þessu fylgja nefnilega ýmsar áskoranir. Til þess að geta nýtt strauminn og tengja þjónustu þá þarf í rauninni talsverða tæknilega innviði sem fylgir töluverður kostnaður, bæði við kaup og endurnýjun á þeim sjálfum en líka við að bara koma upp og halda við þekkingunni til þess að halda þeim í rekstri. Svo til þess að tengja þjónustuna svo við strauminn þá þarf forritunarkunnáttu og svo ekki minnst á öryggismálin en þau eru einmitt aðal ástæði fyrir þess að við erum að nýta strauminn til að byrja með. Og það er einhverjum hnöppum það að hneppa að til þess að halda áfram þessari gríðarlegu framþróun sem eru orðið í landinu bara á undanförnum árum hvað varðar opinbera stafræna þjónustu. Það munu stofnanir og fyrirtæki þurfa einfalda og örugga leið til þess að skipta þessu gögnum og sú leið straumurinn. Og þetta er okkar allra hagur sem að nýtum bara stafræna þjónustu á Íslandi að það fari fram á sem allra öruggastan og skiljukastan hátt. Og því ríður á útbreiðsla og upptakan sé sem mest. En eitthvað í veginum og eins og ég kom inn á og það sem við sjáum þetta rauninni sem tæknilegt verkefni. Það þarf mikla tækniþekkingu til að setja upp þessi innviði inn í stofnunum, forritunarþekkingu eins og við talaðum áðan og bara þekkingu og mannskap til þess að viðhalda rekstraröryggi. Þannig að það er gríðarleg þörf á einfaldri og öruggur leið fyrir stofnanir til að tengja X-Road og tengjast hver annar gegnum strauminn. Við erum náttúrulega fá í landinu en þurfum að halda uppi þjónustu á borðið miklu fjölmennari lönd. Þetta á ekki síst við minni sveitarfélög og stofnanir. 100 manna sveitarfélag getur þurft að náttúrulega þjónusta og vill þjónusta sína íbúa á sama hátt eins og miklu stærra sveitarfélag og við náttúrulega þekkjum bara öll sérstaklega úr tækni heiminum að við þurfum stundum að vera sérfræðingar í dálítið mörgu hver og einn einstaklingur. En það sem AWS skýi gerir okkur kleift að sleppa algjörlega við að setja upp þessa flóknu innviði sem þarf að viðhalda endurnýja og reka. Því AWS sér það. Og við hjá Andes höfðum náttúrulega reynsluna við að setja upp X-Road fyrir stafrænt Ísland og fleiri opinberum stofnanir og því lá beint við að útbyggja það konsept og nýta með reynsluna þá víðar. X-Road er náttúrulega ekki alveg nýtt á nálinni eins og komið fram og kannski sérstaklega undirlagið sem hefur hingað til stuðs við þessa tækni sem við hjá Andes hefum kannski ekki verið að vinna eða vera fjarlægast. Það er svona Linux-vélar og harði diskar og gagnagrunnar og þess háttar. Við viljum nýta okkur AWS þjónustur og hafa allan infrastruktúr í kóða. Þannig að við fórum inn í þetta verkefni og ákváðum að aðlaga X-Road eins og best það kosið að okkar venjum í skýinu. Með því að nota þær þjónustur sem AWS býður upp á í meira mæli. Og þegar við byrjum á þessu þá þurftum við að reiða okkur á sýndarveru í skýinu en notum við með svona AWS tól til þess að gera það eins sjálfvirkt og skalalegt og hægt er. En núna þegar að útgáfa 7 af X-Road er komin út, að þá fengum við tækifæri til að aðlaga þessa uppsetningu enn frekara að því hvernig við viljum vinna í skýinu. Og eins og fram hefur komið hér undan, þá er X-Road náttúrulega samansett af ýmsum einingum og til að tengja þessum miðlæga þjóni þarf að setja upp þennan security server. Og í rauninni til þess að viðhalda þessari peer-to-peer nálgun þá, eins og Petteri lýsti áðan líka, þá þarf í rauninni hver stofnun að vera með sinn eigin öryggisstjón eða allavega hafa aðgang að öryggisstjón. Og hann þarf að vera einhvers staðar, hann þarf að hýsa einhvers staðar og annaðhvort þá eigin vélbúnað eða hjá einhverju þjónustaðila og halda honum gangandi og uppfæra og bregðast við ef eitthvað kemur upp á. Og það sem við á andasögu hannað er sem sagt lausn sem kemur bara X-Road Security Server upp í AWS umhverfi á mjög skömmum tíma, þannig að hann er algjörlega tilbúin til notkunar. Þá fær bara notandinn aðgang og það eina sem eftir að gera er að tengjast og byrja að nota X-Road. Við setjum þá upp sér umhverfi í AWS fyrir hvern og einn sem við sjáum algjörlega reksturinn á. Þegar það búið að taka ákvörðun að nýta X-Road þjónustu Andes til að tengja straumnum, þá er bara mjög fljótlega að tengjast. Við setjum þennan öryggissjón bara upp og sjáum allt tilheyrandi, allar rekstur. Og svo þar sem allir innviðirnir okkar eru til í kóða, þá njóta allir notendur góðs af því sem nýta X-Road þjónustu Andes að allar úrbætur sem við gerum, þeim er hægt að deila milli notenda og öll þróunurinn á sér staði allir þjónustuna á sama tíma. Og til að taka saman svona helstu kosti X-Road þjónustu Andes, þá er engin fjárfesting til að byrja með. Þarna fara einmitt saman kostir frjáls hugbúnaðar eins og X-Road er og þessa pay-as-you-go módel sem að AWS nýtist við. Það er engin viðhaldskostnaður því Andes sér allar rekstur. Það tekur tíma og kostar mikla peninga að þjálfa upp starfsfólk en það sem kemur sér vel hér er þetta svokallaða economy of scale. Það sem við hjá Andes getum rekið hvert umhverfi á miklu hagkvæmari hátt en þá kannski einskar stofnanir gætu. Það þarf ekkert að bíða, þar sem kóðin er klár, þá er þetta rauninni spursmál klukkutíma frekar en daga eða vikur að koma upp X-Road Security Server þegar að búið að ganga frá því. Og það er engin óvæntur kostnaður, bara fast fyrirsjáanlegt mánaðarverð og það er ekkert rukkað sérstaklega fyrir viðhaldsverk, það er bara inn í þjónustunni. Og það kannski eitt allra mikilvægasta er að hjá Andes þá og hefur alltaf verið öryggi númer 1, 2 og 3 og þessi X-Road þjónusta er það bara engin undantekning. Og þar njótum við einmitt góðs að því hvernig hlutinir eru hjá AWS og ég fer nánar út í það eftir. En hluti af því rekstraröryggi er einmitt að fylgja þessum best practices sem að Tónis var að tala áðan. Og Andes náttúrulega fylgist mjög vel bæði með þróun á X-Road og AWS og eins og komið fram erum við partner á báðum stöðum og bara tökum virkan þátt í þessu og þetta er það sem við gerum. Þar sem að framtíð tækni er að miklu leyti skýinu, en það er ekki endilega allar stofnanir búin að tileinka sér skýið, þá getur þetta náttúrulega líka verið ákveðin stökkpallur þangað fyrir þau sem er ekki komin þangað enn. En svo er náttúrulega alltaf og óhjákvæmilega einhverjar þjónustur sem þurfa að vera í öðru niðri. Til þess að leysa það vandamál að þá höfum við talsverða reynslu á því að setja upp svona svokallað direct connect tengingu við milli infrastruktúrs á jörðu niðri og AWS eða þá VPN-tengingu og hérna má sjá bara í mjög grófum dráttum af þessari mynd hvernig þannig tenging virkar. Það er raun bara komið fyrir beinu sambandi frá endabúna jörðu niðri upp í AWS umhverfi gegnum þjónustaðila og ofta setjum við VPN-tengingu líka sem varaleið. Í rauninni er líka hægt að setja bara VPN-tenginguna og þegar að direct connect er komið þá þýðir það svona í mjög grófum dráttum netlega séð að þá er X-Road öryggisstjórnin sem keyrir þá í X-Road þjónustu Andes í AWS skýinu, þá er hann í rauninni kominn heim í stofu eða niður til það sem aðrir innviðir eru sem þurfa að nota beint. Og samskiptin milli hans og þeirra þjónustu fara svo gegnum þessa öruggu leið X-Road eins og var lýst hérna áðan. Já, en hvað svo innifalið í þessu öllu saman? Náttúrulega eins og ég minntist áðan þá sér hann þessum uppsetninguna og reksturinn X-Road frá A til Ö. Og við setjum upp 3 aðskilin umhverfi í AWS fyrir þróunar, prófunar og raunumhverfi. Við höfum svo milligöngum að tengja umhverfi við strauminn, hjálpa til með skilríki þess áttar, þannig að hægt sé eiga örugg samskipti á milli. Fylgjumst náið með þróun NIIS og X-Road og uppfæra stakking hjá okkur og öllu viðskiptunum eins og við á. Og þar kemur þeim vel að öll uppsetning skuli verið kóða, þá þarf í rauninni enga niðri tíma til þess. Við sjáum afritun á umhverfinu til að tryggja engin tapis komi eitthvað upp á. Við vöktum kerfið alla sólarhringinn, alla daga ársins, svo við verðum þess vör ef einhverja bilanir eða öryggisfrávik eiga sér stað. Og við setjum upp klæenta fyrir mismunandi þjónustur sem þurfa að tengjast og við erum komið með ágætis lagara á svona dæmum að tengingum í ýmsum forritunarmálum sem við getum notað til þess að hjálpa fólki að tengjast. Og svo sé þess óska sérstaklega, þá getum við líka gengið ennþá lengra og aðstoða við þróun á þjónustunni sjálfum og veitt ráðgjöf hvernig best að koma samböndun á svona lægra leveli. Og eins og ég minntist á þá öryggi bara númer 1, 2, 3 hjá Andes og eins og hefur líka hjá bæði AWS og NIIS. Og einn af kostinu við að nýta AWS umhverfi til þess að setja upp X-Road, það eru allir þessir innbyggðu öryggisvítisar sem að þar bara fylgja með. Bara svona sem dæmi að þá NIIS-þjónustan sem við notum til að hýsa security server containerana eins og ég ætla að sýna ykkur aðeins betur á eftir, að þá hún bara með vottun, með PCI-vottun sem þarf til að leysa kreditkort. Og við hjá Andes erum í það mynd að útvega okkur og vinna í ISO 27001 vottun fyrir okkur sjálf. Og svo í AWS þá líka allt netöryggi sem þarf, eldveikir, next generation eldveikir, mekanismi til að sjá auðkenningu og þar fram til göttunum. Og við setjum upp X-Road security server umhverfið á sama hátt og við setjum upp bara umhverfið hjá öllum öðrum okkur viðskiptavinum sem eru í rekstri hjá okkur með sín AWS umhverfi. Og þá skulum við aðeins kíkja á hvernig þetta allt saman sett. Og þessi mynd nú kannski frekar lítil, þannig að ég ætla bara að leyfa ykkur að lesa aðeins punktana og svo ætla ég að skipta yfir stærri mynda því að það nú, ég veit, miklu skemmtilega að horfa á myndir heldur en punta. En já, eins og Tónis myndist á hér áðan, þá höfum við tekið þátt í þessari best practices umræðu og uppsetningin tekur mið af því og eiginlega bara allt sem hann myndist á það er þarna. Þessi mynd svona í mjög grunnar áttum en sýnir svona hvaða helstu þjónustu við erum að nota og hvernig sambandi á milli. Og eins og ég sagði líka þá nýja útgáfan X-Road 7, hún gerir okkur kleift að nota konteinera í stað sýndarvéla. Og þá Elastic Container Service í Amazon eða ECS mjög hentugt tól til þess að sýsla með þá. Og annað mjög mikilvægur komponent hjá okkur, það Elastic File Systemið sem að gera það að verkum að konfigura allt bara á einu stað og þannig að konteinerarnir geta verið svona sjálfur sér nógir. Og ekki síður Amazon Aurora er mikilvægt sem náttúrulega gagnagrunnur sem að skalast bara sjálfkrafa út allt og alltaf aðgengilegur. Svo notum við Terraform til þess að skrifa deploy og viðhalda öllum þessum innviðum í kóða. Og þessi högun, hún gerir okkur kleift að uppfæra á niðri tíma, skala upp og niður eftir þörfum. En kannski það sem mikilvægast að tryggja öryggi, áreiðanleika og aðgengileika gagna. Og þarna inn á myndin svona í brotalínum sýnd þessi tenging við umhverfi á jörðu niðri, en hún náttúrulega þessu sem ekki endilega þörf. Það náttúrulega sjálfsög hægt að tengjast líka bara yfir netið, en svona ef að þörfur á þessu þá getum við bætt því við. Þannig að þetta snýst í rauninni bara það að hvert og eitt okkar geti einbeitt sér að því sem við gerum best, og það sem við gerum í Andes, að við erum í Amazon Web Service og meðan við sjáum X-Road, að þá geta stofnanir og fyrirtæki í landinu einbeitt sér að því að veita sína þjónustu sem bara okkur öllum til hagsbóta. Og þá þakka ég bara kærlega fyrir mig og ætla að gefa Árna aftur orðið.
Thank you, Kelly. I would like to invite all the panelists to come up on the stage, so to speak, the virtual stage with us. I encourage you to submit your questions. We have a few minutes left. We only have one question so far, and there's a question regarding who is allowed on Straumurinn, the Icelandic X-Road network. Is it only public institutions? Straumurinn is under the control of Digital Iceland, and the rollout plan for who they will admit is in the hands of Digital Iceland, so they would have to answer for it. But I know the plan is to open it up for corporations as well as institutions. So you need to follow up on that on Digital Iceland, Iceland.is, the website. Kelly, do you want to comment on that?
No? That sounds just about right.
Good, good. Any other questions? Any final comments from our presenters? Okay. If not, then you have the emails here in front of you. If you want to follow up, you can email us at xroad@andes.is, or if you want to talk to any of the presenters, their emails are down here. And I thank you for attending. Takk fyrir ykkar tíma. And goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Huang, how do we turn this down?
I think we had like one more question coming in.
Is the recording going to be made public? That is the plan. We will keep you informed probably via an email or with an announcement on our website. But yes, that's the plan.
Registration and then document the follow-up in the webinar.
Yeah. Okay, we still have a few more people in here. Huang, can we stop broadcasting?